An Omaha senator wants every school board in the state to have at least one high school student member. Senator Terrell McKinney introduced LB 960. It goes beyond the current law, which already allows this type of student participation, by making it mandatory in all districts. That would include OPS, which is the only school system in the state that can't have a student on the board because of state classification. Now, if passed, McKinney's bill would not allow student members to vote, but they could introduce and advocate for agenda items. School boards would also be able to decide how a student is brought on, either through student elections or an application process. Several high school students spoke in support of the legislation.
Students bring a perspective that even best-intentioned adults cannot recreate. Students know what is happening in the classroom and with our peers. We know what culture feels like at school, and we know what supports and even what rules we need to learn best.
Now, opponents of the bill say they're on board with the intent, but argue that a statewide mandate is too restrictive. Lisa Albers with Grand Island Public Schools says her district already has a similar program which works great, but doesn't believe that it should be forced onto other districts.
While this model has been incredibly successful for GIPS, its success is exactly why it should not be mandated. What works effectively in a district like Grand Island may not be practical or appropriate for districts in Alliance, McCook, or Arapahoe.
A few of the opponents agreed to work with Senator McKinney on changes to the bill, adding more flexibility for school districts.